If you really take the ideal of Superman, you don't go to the Superman, let's say a person who is sticking to yoga, that by which I'll become more powerful, more this thing. So you will see such a man more and more displaying his name, his credentials, and not realizing that when you authentic contact with the divine brings humility. Why? Because you are you have the experience of the infinite. So when you experience the infinite, you automatically become humble. Whereas when you are moving on the under the stress of the ego, so then what will happen is that ego will take you to some place. It's not that it will not take you, because it's allowed in the play of the divine. You may turn to the divine with your ambition, and the divine may take you through that, giving you chance. But a time will come when you will collapse, and very badly. So mother has spoken about the danger of ambition and mixing it with spirituality. So I'll give you many example I can give. I know people who have, even they keep talking about it. Abhi, there was an interesting question. I think one of our participants had asked that, other than Sri Aurobindo and the mother, are there people who have realized the supermind? Anybody who says this is a dangerous person. Not because one is not realizing, but the very fact that it finishes your ego. The Superman has no ego. And that's why it's difficult to understand. But there are people who do this, and it comes from even our tradition many times. And we have this tendency of revering the spiritual person. So, Superman, Sri Aurobindo brought in the conception of the divine Superman. That's why he used. So, what is the divine Superman? Divine easily becomes the servant of all. Where, you don't mind. The divine doesn't go, oh, I am divine, you better respect me. Divine is happy to be a king. He is equally happy to be on the floor, sleep with the commoners. Because for him, he sees himself everywhere. So the Superman will live in that consciousness, the divine Superman. The sign of really a yogi is that he forgets who he is, and yet he is a conduit of the divine. So this is the big difference. So essentially the difference of ego aggrandizing itself needs a Superman. Ego submitting itself so completely that nothing of itself exists, and one is nothing else except the divine passing through the person. Even to call that instrument is an ego. In that stage, you cannot even say that, I just want to be an instrument of the mother. It will sound so egoistic. Whole creation is her instrument. What is not her instrument? The stone on the road is her instrument. So even to say that I am an instrument of the divine, or I want to be the instrument of the divine, it may start like that as an aspiration. But there comes a time when you see nothing else but the divine consciousness working in everyone and in every way. It's a very vast consciousness. You are one with the divine in its essence, and then you discover the way the divine operates in each one, and it's so delightful. So it will be a consciousness of Ananda. There will not be an ambition of anything. That people can carry ambition even in an ashram, that they want to become, let us say, the head of department. It can come anywhere. No, it can come in so many ways. So when you travel out, it could be, oh, you are from ashram, so people should treat you in a special way. None of this will be there. And spiritual ego is very dangerous. Particularly because, nobody is there to point out. People normally will not walk up to a spiritual person, okay, and tell him that, basically what you are talking is stupidity. Bharat mein to bilkul nahi hoga. So that's why Mother and Sri Aurobindo did not want any of that old humbug stuff. They wanted genuineness, authenticity, a sincere heart, like a child. So you'll not recognize the Superman of Sri Aurobindo in any conventional way. If you are looking for it, you won't find it. Because he is humble, he is vast, he is benevolent. One word that Mother has used about Superman is benevolent. And he has used another word, she has used another word, mentor consciousness. It's a mentor, very benevolent. And then Sri Aurobindo says that In fact, he uses the word that the gods often, talking of the Superman, they often work veiled by the light, in the light. So you won't get to know कि here is something superhuman which is working. And then he speaks of primarily these three things: wisdom, love, and strength. These are the three hallmarks. So love is there, wisdom is there, and strength is there. Obviously, many other things, but this the if somebody can take out, there is an essay on Superman which I love to read. So whereas Asura is full of anger, Asuric Superman is angry, revolting. He will even say things like that. You should be very careful. Sri Aurobindo has done what he had to do. Now I am carrying his work forward. I've heard this. I say, Acha? What has to say? अरे वो 1000 साल का प्रोजेक्ट देके गए हैं. अभी करो, उसमें लगे रहो. Sri Aurobindo ने सुपरमेंटल, पीपल टॉक सो चाइल्डिशली. सुपर माइंड लाके उन्होंने रख दिया यहाँ पर. ये कोई गिफ ऑफ बॉल होती है ना, अब हमको फुटबॉल खेलना है, उन्हें लाके रख दिया. अब हमको हमारा सेल का. द मोर यू कम इन कॉन्टैक्ट विद द डिवाइन, two signs are very obvious. One, the more you automatically begin to live in the presence of the grace. This is automatic. Mother has spoken about it. The second thing is it brings more and more humility, and authentic humility. It's not a make-up humility. मैं कुछ नहीं हूँ, सब तो माँ देख रही हैं. Don't listen to all that. वो भी एक स्टाइल हो गया है ना, वो भी एक तरीका हो गया है. You don't have to declare, he is so humble, you see. Human ego का ना कोई limit नहीं है. So, but the more you turn humble you become, because you realize. When you realize that that is infinite, there is no end to the mystery, to the joy, to the manifestation. You can't even think that this is you. That's the sign of the Superman. Okay. So, there is an essay called Superman, in which Sri Aurobindo speaks of the ideal of the Superman by the Nietzsche, according to Nietzsche. Okay, so he speaks of what is Nietzsche. It is apt to be resented by average humanity because men are told or have a lurking consciousness that here is a claim the few to ascend to heights of which the many are not capable, to concentrate moral and spiritual privileges and enjoy domination, powers, and immunities hurtful to a diffuse dignity and freedom in mankind. So considered, supermanhood is nothing more important than a deification of the rare or solitary ego that has out-topped others in the force of our common human qualities. People who, ये सुपरमैन है. नहीं, वो तो उल्टा हो गया बोलते. Then there is no point in having it. We can't even use the word race. The gospel of true supermanhood gives us a generous ideal for the progressive human race and should not be turned into an arrogant claim for a class or individuals. हम आश्रमाइट है, हम सुपरमैन है. आप कहाँ बाहर के लोग आ रहे गांव से, कौन है? ये बहुत खतरनाक चीज है. जिस दिन भगवान सिखाएंगे लेसन ना. So that's where we have to be so careful. There are both kinds of people you will see. It is a call to man to do what no species has yet done or aspired to do in terrestrial history, evolve itself consciously into the next superior type already half foreseen. Now here comes, Nietzsche is the one who first said it, and he looked into a Superman as a half luminous, Hellenizing Slav with his strange clarities, his violent half ideas, his rare gleaming intuitions that came marked with the stamp of an absolute truth and sovereignty of light. But Nietzsche was an apostle who never really entirely understood the message. So I'll come to where because each of these has a history and I could go into it, but we'll get into a very long process. So, where is the problem of the confusion? Especially in his concept of Superman, he never cleared his mind of a preliminary confusion. For if a sort of human godhead is the goal to which the race must advance, the first difficulty is that we have to decide to which of two very different types of divinity the idea in us should rise. Oh, this is where the difference lies. For the deity within may confront us either with the clear, joyous, and radiant countenance of the god or the convulsed visage of the Titan. Nietzsche hymned the Olympian, but presented him with the aspect of the Asura. His hostile, because he didn't like the Christian idea, he was revolting against all the Christian idea. So he presents to us sometimes a Superman who fiercely and arrogantly repels the burden of simple sorrow and service, not one who arises victorious over morality and suffering. His ascension. So basically, what is it that, he who fiercely and arrogantly repels the burden of simple sorrow and service. So सुपरमैन कैसा होना चाहिए? एक है कि वो अपना संसार में है, अपना हाइट पर है, लोग उसके पास जा रहे हैं. एक सुपरमैन का आइडियल है वो जो साधारण से साधारण मनुष्य है, उसका ये नहीं सोच रहा है कि अरे इसका साथ में रहूंगा तो मेरा सुपरमैनहुड खत्म हो जाएगा. एक बार श्री अरबिंदो से किसी ने चिट्ठी लिखी कि मैं तो यहाँ पर आया हूँ इवोल्यूशन और ये सब डिविनाइजेशन के लिए, और मुझे तो काम मिला है डाइनिंग रूम में जहाँ मुझे साधकों की सेवा करनी पड़ती है. मैं तो आपकी सेवा करना चाहता हूँ. देखिए वहाँ भी ईगो. तो श्री अरबिंदो कहते हैं अरे तुम उसको समझते हो कि वो कोई लो चीज है, तो फिर तो मैं भी रोज साधकों की सेवा कर रहा हूं चिट्ठियां लिख लिख के. इट वॉज हिज वे ऑफ रिमाइंडिंग कि ये जो दृष्टि है कि कुछ लोग स्पेशल हैं, ये खत्म, ये आज की एज की डिमांड है. श्री अरबिंदो इन दैट हाइट नेवर, दैट्स वाई परफेक्ट जेंटलमैन, वो निरोधा की वो है ना कि चिट्ठी पोस्ट करना, उनको तो वो ऐसे पूछ रहे हैं, आई सपोज दिस लेटर हैज टू बी पोस्टेड. निरोधा लिखते हैं 100 हंग्री हैंड्स विल कम, मेरे को दीजिए, मुझे दीजिए. सो मेनी एग्जाम्पल्स. वो फंबिल कर रहे हैं वो ऑन करने के लिए फैन को. इतने में वो चंपक लाल जी आते हैं, बोलते ऐसे होगा, वो कर देते हैं, कहते ओ दैट सिंपल. कभी श्री अरबिंदो ने किसी को ऐसे नहीं बोला मुझे ये चाहिए, मेरे लिए ये काम कर दो. ये भी बोल के नहीं, ये भगवान का काम है, तुमको करना है, कुछ भी नहीं. एंड इफ यू गो टू मदर, इट्स इवन शी वॉज मीटिंग विद पीपल, प्लेइंग टेनिस, गोइंग टू पीपल्स होम, इंटरैक्टिंग विद एवरीबडी. मतलब आप अगर सुपरफिशियली लोगों को समझ ही नहीं आता था कि ये डिविनिटी कैसे है, लेकिन एवरीबडी फेल्ट. वो जहां खड़ी हुई वहां पर बैल्कोनी में. So that divinity is not meant for display. It manifests when it should manifest. So that's how it is. Now I'll come to... so God and Titan, Deva and Asura are indeed close kin in their difference. Yet do they inhabit different poles. So, thus the nature. To evolve in the sense of the God is to grow in intuition, in light, in joy, in love, in happy mastery. And now you see, the happy mastery क्यों बोल रहे हैं? ये नहीं कि टाइटली हमने बंद करके अपने आप को रखा हुआ, नहीं हम वो खाना नहीं खाएंगे, तो हम मेरा फिसल जाऊंगा मैं. हैप्पी मास्टरी क्या होती है? बोला था ना विवेकानंद जी के बारे में श्री रामकृष्ण परमहंस ने, बिफोर ही वेंट अब्रॉड. किसी ने कंप्लेन किया, बहुत लोग कंप्लेन करते थे उनके बारे में, अरे नरेंद्र होटल में बैठ के खाना खा रहा था. बोले नरेंद्र के बारे में तुम छोड़ी दो, वो बाहर जाकर के विदेश में गोरे मेम के साथ बैठ के वाइन भी अगर पिएगा और मीट खाएगा तो भी वो अनटच्ड रहेगा, दूसरों को कन्वर्ट कर देगा. It was like that, like a child. When people would say, "Give us a method," he will say, "नहीं, that's not my job. I have not come here to instruct. I have come here to inspire." सबके साथ घुल मिल जाना. So that's something. And yet, Now you see the line in happy. So happy mastery is something where you are not straining yourself. कि मेरे को it may be required at a stage. So it's not the ascetic kind of mastery where I am away from things because I may get contaminated. मास्टरी तो वो है कि आप इवन इन बॉन्डेज यू आर मास्टर, स्वेच्छा से हो. श्री कृष्ण की कहानी ये, सावित्री में एक लाइन भी है, यू नो इवन इन बॉन्ड्स व्हेन यू आर फ्री, दैट इज फ्रीडम. हाँ, इट इज अनकंडीशनल, इट्स नॉट बेस्ड ऑन एनी कंडीशन. तो आपकी फ्रीडम. नाउ यू सी दिस लाइन सो पावरफुल, वन ऑफ माई फेवरेट. टू सर्व बाय रूल and to rule by service. He will make himself the servant of all. That is the kind of ruler he will be. And he will rule so that he can serve better. To evolve in the sense, okay. To be able to be bold and swift and even violent without hurt or wickedness, and mild and kindly and even self-indulgent without laxity. See? Without laxity or wise or weakness. To make a bright and happy whole in oneself, and by sympathy with mankind and all creatures. And in the end, it is to evolve a large impersonal personality. इसकी बात हो रही थी. And to heighten sympathy into constant experience of world oneness. For such are the gods, conscious always of their universality and therefore divine. They are not limited beings, you know, working for their own good. ये जो बात होती है ना, मेरी साधना, आपका योग कैसा चल रहा है? मेरा साधना तो अच्छा चल रहा है. आपकी साधना कैसी चल रही है? अभी और क्या बोलूं. जो कर रहा है साधना वो जानते हैं. ये इस ऑल दिस ईगो के 1000 तरीके हैं, द्वार हैं जिससे वो आ जाएगी. स्टे सेफ फ्रॉम द ईगो. इवन इसका ईगो, साधक हूं मैं. बहुत बार आपने आश्रम ज्वाइन किया, उसका भी ईगो, मैं आश्रम में हूं, लोग इसका भी हो जाता है. मैं तो कभी बाहर नहीं गया, अंदर भी नहीं गया, बाहर भी नहीं गया. बात वो नहीं है. इट्स ए जॉइंट प्रिविलेज टू बी इन द आश्रम, दैट्स ए डिफरेंट थिंग. बट इफ यू टेक इट लाइक अ वे ऑफ एग्रेंडाइजिंग योर सेल्फ, एंड ह्यूमन माइंड इतना स्टूपिड है, दैट्स द ओनली वर्ड आई कैन यूज. वो किसी चीज को लेके एग्रेंडाइज करता है. आई हैव सीन पीपल कि भाई देखो हम तो खाली, हम बस ये वाला कपड़ा पहनते हैं. अरे उसमें भी आ जाता है एग्रेंडाइजमेंट. इतना कठिन होता है ये सब चीजों को. श्रीबिंदु एक जगह बोलते हैं, वो रिनंसिएशन का पूरा एक चैप्टर है सिंथेसिस ऑफ योग में, वहाँ श्री राम का एग्जाम्पल देते हैं एज द रिनंसिएट, जो कल बात हो रही थी. तो दैट्स दी, अगर आप मोटा मोटी पूछें तो एक रावण को देख लीजिए, मैं बड़ा भक्त हूँ, मैं पंडित हूँ, मैं ज्ञानी हूँ, मुझे पद्म श्री मिला है, पद्म विभूषण मिला है. अभी थोड़ा दिन की बात है भारत रत्न मिलेगा. अभी एक नया और रत्न भी शुरू हो गया है. नन ऑफ दिस मैटर्स. लोग आपके बारे में क्या सोचते हैं इररिलेवेंट है. भगवान हमारे बारे में क्या सोचते हैं वही बस इंपॉर्टेंट है. दैट इज द पाथ टू सुपरमैनहुड. Overmind, this is a very interesting question. Overman is a term which has been, unfortunately, because of thanks to Satprem and George von Brickham, I mean, respectable people, they have used, this is a kind of, I think, needless controversy created because French ke la sur home, that's the word mother used in agenda. So it's been translated as Superman, because she spoke of Lasser home. That's in context of 1st January 1969, the descent of Superman took place. So now it has been translated as Superman. But then George's hypothesis is that, well, it is not actually Superman but Overman. Now, there is a truth in that. I understand the logic because partly because of the term Superman, but he was saying it on the basis of the French. So, Overman, if you want to put it, there is a term which Sri Aurobindo uses in Savitri, which is called as the Oversoul. So, Oversoul is, from that comes the Overman, a person who is conscious of the inner divinity and who is not yet the supramentalized being, but he becomes the mediator between the supramental and the human. All the description of Superman as we understand. So, what is the difference? You are changing a term, that's all. So, when I read it, I said, why unnecessary confuse? It's okay. I mean, people have started now using this term, as you rightly said. So we can say simply he is the being between who is conscious of the divinity within, but obviously his body is all the criteria which fit to a Superman. But his body is untransformed, but his consciousness inwardly is transformed. So, gradations. Yes, evolution. So you can say he stands on the borders before one can take a leap into the complete supramental transformation, because obviously there has to be a preparation. So Overman is comes somewhere in between. But his idea was that we should not use the word Superman, Overman is the correct word, and it was based on French. Now I don't know French that way, but I find it convenient, it doesn't matter, because Sri Aurobindo has used the word Superman in a certain specific sense. Mother's Agenda, where she talks about, lost her home, is all in French. So, one who surpasses human. So, that's how the logic of it comes. Who has surpassed human is Overman. So, that's how the logic comes. But she describes what that being will be. So, we can go with that description. One thing Sri Aurobindo cautions very clearly, that there will be a tendency, because you spoke about Nietzsche, there will be a tendency to bring in the idea of the Superman and on that basis create a new religion in the name of Sri Aurobindo. And she cautions that they will give a very... Why? Because see, Christianity का इतिहास है ना पूरा, Islam का भी है, तो भगवान के नाम पर, so they will give a very harsh and cruel turn to Sri Aurobindo's thought. And then he says, we must know that this is not what Sri Aurobindo wants. He is great and mighty and benevolent and compassionate. करुणा के सागर हैं. क्या क्या लोग उनके पास आकर के, एंड ही वुड बी विद देम. और आश्रम में आके लोग पूछते हैं विड्रॉ नहीं किया. वो श्री अरविंद एक जगह बोलते हैं कि मैं वो काम ही नहीं कर पाऊंगा जिसके लिए आया हूं. यू नो व्हाई ही हैड टू कीप हिमसेल्फ इनसाइड द डोर. सम पीपल थिंक दैट बाय शटिंग देमसेल्व्स इन अ डोर दे विल बिकम सुपरमैन. श्री अरविंद हैड टू डू इट बिकॉज ही वाज सो फ्रीली. कोई लेटर कुछ भी वो करते जा रहे हैं. तो एट वन पॉइंट ही हैड टू डू दिस बिकॉज ही यूजेस द वर्ड माय डिसाइपल्स विल ईट मी अप. सो वो भी चलेगा, लेकिन जो रियल काम है. सो व्हेन मदर केम, उसमें भी देखिए उनकी करुणा. व्हेन मदर एक्सेप्ट्स कि ओके ये मैं कर लेती हूं, then he goes and starts concentrating on bringing down the supramental, because that was his main work. Otherwise he doesn't go and shut himself away from. उसमें भी लेटर, कितने लेटर, एक एक ही बात को डिसाइपल 10 तरह से पूछ रहे हैं. एक बार भी उनके अंदर ये नहीं आ रहा है तुमको समझा दिया था ना, वो वाला पढ़ लो, नहीं आ रहा है. और लंबे लंबे डिसाइपल तो 2 लाइन में पूछ लिया. कुछ एक लेटर वो दिलीप कुमार राय पूछते हैं, व्हाई डिड सच ए फाइन फ्लावर फेड अवे सो सून. उमा बोस की बात है. मस्ट बी नोइंग उमा बोस वाज ए नाइटिंगेल. 22 साल का उम्र में कैंसर हुआ थ्रोट का, शी डाइड. दिलीप कुमार रॉय का लेटर है जो छोटा सा लेटर है 4-5 लाइन का. उस लेटर के ऊपर श्री अरविंदो का जो रिप्लाई है वो एक बुक फॉर्म में है, रिडल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. वो तो उसके पीछे की सब चीजों को रिप्लाई कर रहे थे, कॉस्मिक. ये करुणा उनकी, आंखें उनकी चली गई ये चिट्ठियां लिखते लिखते. और लोग कंप्लेन करते थे 2 दिन हो गया आपका रिप्लाई नहीं आया, आप बहुत बिजी हैं लगता है, लेकिन संडे तो था, उस दिन तो छुट्टी। ऐसे लोग डिसाइपल हैं। संडे को तो हमको लगा कि डिवाइन आपके पास टाइम होगा थोड़ा ज्यादा। और श्योर बिंदु एक देखो भगवान की व्यथा, फिर भी सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर। वो लिखते हैं डिसाइपल को, यदि तुम एक बार देख लेते कि मैं पत्रों के अंबार में कैसे नाक तक घुसा हुआ हूं, तो तुम्हारे जैसे एक हार्ड हार्टेड डिसाइपल का दिल भी पिघल जाता। यदि तुम देख लेते कि पत्रों के अंबार में मैं कैसे टिल नेक। आप सोचिए, पेन से लिख करके, आज वो ट्रेजर है हम सबका। वो प्रेम की चीज है ना। वो कह देते मैंने लिख दिया जो लिखना था, सिंथेसिस ऑफ योग, लाइफ डिवाइन पढ़ो, समझो, फॉलो द पाथ। सिलीएस्ट क्वेश्चंस, मदर 10 times more.